Elysia Kalender spent 5 years as a trophy princess, stolen in a brutal war, only to end up in a fake contract marriage with the terrifying war hero, Duke Erik Langmore. She's currently stuck in bed, calling him a total bastard because he keeps breaking his promise to leave her alone after 5 minutes, swearing up and down that he's lying every single time he says this is the last turn. But to understand how Elysia ended up locked in this intense love-hate dynamic, you have to look at how their whole fake arrangement started 3 months ago. After 5 years of bloody conflict, where the Empire completely wiped out her home country and annexed its territory, Erik marched back into the capital as the ultimate victorious hero, holding all the power. Meanwhile, Elysia was brought along as the Empire's ultimate prize of war, treated as nothing more than a ruined third princess with 0 standing. At a formal noble gathering, she tries her best to pay her respects alongside a local lord, but she stumbles over the language and immediately gets mocked by the nobles, who whisper about her bad grammar and lack of proper education. Just as the snickering gets unbearable, Erik himself strides into the hall looking completely intimidating, casually informing her that her mother has arrived in the guest parlor so she can head over. Sensing the awkward tension, Erik asks if something happened, but Elysia plays it off like it was nothing and walks away. Neither of them had any idea, in that moment, that a strategic contract marriage, meant to secure a truce between their nations, would push them this dangerously close to each other just a few hours later. Elysia's mother comes visiting, and it's toxic stage mum behavior from second one. She zeroes in on Elysia's shiny new emerald necklace and immediately starts prying into whether Erik actually likes her, pressuring Elysia to lock him down with a pregnancy before it's too late. When Elysia breaks down and cries that she can't take the abuse from the estate servants anymore, her mum literally slaps her face. She reminds Elysia that as an illegitimate daughter, this political marriage is her only ticket to survival, and if she loses it, she's going right back to being nobody. To top off the emotional damage, her mum hands her a suspicious gift before leaving, warning her never to forget who she is. Elysia opens it, and, yeah, it's a sketchy potion meant to spice things up, or worse. Meanwhile, Erik is wrapping up state business when a servant mentions Elysia's mother left, but Elysia hasn't come out of her room. Feeling like something is off, Erik goes to check on her himself. He knocks, gets no answer, and tries the handle, only to find the door completely unlocked. He steps inside, and instead of a calm Tia, he walks right into Elysia, flushed, breathless, and totally overwhelmed on the floor as the potion takes full effect. Panicking from the potion's side effects, Elysia slams the door right in Erik's face, begging him to leave her alone. But Erik isn't taking no for an answer. He can hear her voice shaking and knows something is terribly wrong. When his guards offer to break down the door, Erik threatens to kick it in with his sword himself. He literally counts down from 3, giving off maximum possessive ML energy, until Elysia finally cracks and opens the door on 3, begging that only he comes inside, so no one else sees her like this. Erik instantly orders everyone out and shuts the door behind him. The moment he kneels next to her, Elysia notices how cool his hands feel against her burning skin. She tries to push him away, terrified of losing control, but Erik just pulls her close to steady her. As his touch starts soothing the fever, Elysia yields to the sensation, pulling his hand closer to her face and chest. What started as a chaotic, drug-induced panic completely pivots into this suffocatingly sweet, intimate moment between them. Even in her hazy state, Elysia realizes that the husband who always felt so distant and cold suddenly feels warmer than she ever remembered. Elysia realizes her mother slipped her Cupidina, a potion her mother used back in the day, to become the king's mistress. Feeling the potion take full effect, Elysia tries unbuttoning her husband's shirt, but when her hands fumble, he apologizes for taking advantage of her state. That is when it hits her that despite growing up neglected and abused by everyone in her life, the man sitting in front of her right now actually cares about her consent. Wanting to be close to him, Elysia asks him to stop wearing so many layers, so he makes sure she is completely certain about this and won't regret it tomorrow. Once she gives him the green light, he takes off his shirt, apologizes one last time, and gives in to the moment, leaving Elysia to realize only afterward what that final apology was really about. Elysia wakes up the next morning, hoping the whole wild encounter was just a fever dream, only for reality to crash in when she remembers everything that actually went down. She panics thinking about how awkward it is going to be facing the Grand Duke now, especially after he kept holding her and promising to be gentle if she was uncomfortable. When her maid knocks and notices how exhausted and sore Elysia looks, Elysia quickly claims nothing happened at all, though she notes how surprisingly nice this new maid is, compared to the usual castle staff, who bully her. As Elysia tries to walk out, her legs completely give out on her, but the maid catches her just in time and checks if she is hurt. Frustrated with herself for being so weak after just one night, Elysia insists on walking on her own and tries to head outside for fresh air. On her way, she accidentally bumps into the Grand Duke himself, who catches her before she falls. Looking up at him, Elysia flushes bright red as the memory of their night together hits her all over again. Elysia tries to remind herself that they are married, so touching is completely normal, but as soon as the Grand Duke reaches out, she panics and bolts down the hallway. Meanwhile, a servant asks the Grand Duke if he wants his meal served in his study as usual, but he decides to dine with his wife instead. At dinner, Elysia is shocked because they usually keep their distance and he never eats at home. Suddenly, the staff serve her top-tier dishes and act super polite, begging her to let them know if she needs anything. Sitting across from him, Elysia realizes that as long as her husband is around, the servants would not dare look down on her or mistreat her again, just like her mother said. But the realization makes her feel guilty, and she loses her appetite and stops eating. Seeing her put her fork down, the Grand Duke asks if she dislikes the food. When Elysia apologizes and says she is just not that hungry, he suddenly flushes red and stammers out to ask if he hurt her during their night together, leaving Elysia completely thrown off. Elysia quickly assures him that she feels fine and nothing hurts, but the whole situation is so awkward that she just wants to drop it. Observing her hesitation, the Grand Duke dismisses all the servants from the room so they can talk privately. Once they are alone, he apologizes for losing control the night before, admitting things got out of hand. Elysia admits she drank the potion her mother gave her because they still do not have an heir, but she begs him to just pretend the night never happened. Instead of getting angry, he gently holds her hands, apologizing again and begging her not to hate him. As he turns to leave, their fingers brush, leaving him completely flustered in the hallway over a simple touch. Meanwhile, out in the courtyard, the castle maids are panicking after seeing how attentively the Grand Duke treated Elysia at dinner, realizing they need to stop bullying her before they get caught. But Sylvie, the head maid who leads the abuse, isn't backing down at all, cutting up a piece of fabric with scissors and sneering that she will personally remind Elysia that she is nothing but trash. Alexia's internal monologue kicks us off, and you can already tell she's spiraling into self-doubt after everything she's been through. But right as she's having her moment, Martha the maid busts in, completely ignoring her presence and brushing her hair like Elysia isn't even in the room. You know that classic disrespectful servant trope? Yeah, Martha is giving total main character energy in the worst way possible. When Elysia calls her out on leaving without permission, Martha doesn't even bother hiding her attitude. She literally tries to gaslight Elysia, claiming she was just doing other chores, but Elysia isn't playing around today. She calmly breaks down every single one of Martha's failures, from abandoning her post to messing up her corset, and delivers the ultimate line, "You're fired." Martha immediately loses it. She tries to pull rank, basically screaming, "Do you even know who I am? You can't fire me." She goes on this whole rant about how Elysia is just a temporary wife, claiming the Grand Duke doesn't actually care about her and that the staff will always side with the house, not some outsider. It's that painful moment where someone says all your worst fears out loud just to hurt you. For a second, Elysia almost lets it get to her, reflecting on how isolated and powerless she feels in this huge estate. But instead of shrinking back, she steps right up to Martha, grabs her, and drops the hammer. She tells Martha if she thinks she's untouchable, they can take this straight to the Grand Duke himself to see if he'll side with his wife. or praise a maid for her devotion. And just like that, Alexa officially stands her ground. Martha tries to bluff her way out of it, but the second Alexa calls her bluff and says, "Let's go see the Grand Duke right now," Martha's bravado completely crumbles. She bolts out of the room like a bat out of hell, leaving the other maid, Samantha, shaking in her boots. Out in the hallway, Martha is seething, wondering how a soft-spoken girl like Alexa suddenly grew a backbone, while Samantha realizes she's got to switch sides fast if she wants to keep her job. So Samantha runs straight back to Alexa, practically tackling her in a tearful embrace and begging to stay. Alexa is just relieved to have one actual ally in this house, but she isn't letting her guard down completely. She tests the waters by asking Samantha what the servants usually say about her, only to hear the harsh truth. No one takes her seriously, because her marriage with the Grand Duke looks strictly business. Knowing she can't survive on weak foundations forever, Alexa decides it's time to secure her position for real. She marches right over to the Duke's office. He immediately tries to turn her away, but Alexa hits him with the classic, "I brought you tea" line to buy herself a minute. She confesses that she fired Martha for failing her duties, expecting him to push back or question her authority. Instead, the Grand Duke looks her dead in the eye and drops absolute green flag energy. He tells her she's his wife, this is her house, and she doesn't need his permission to run it how she sees fit. Alexa is stunned by the green light, but just as the atmosphere hits that soft, swoon-worthy note, she reveals she didn't just come here to report a fired maid. She's actually there with a whole second request. Alexa takes a breath and drops her real request. She wants a new language tutor. Her old teacher was in total nightmare, who basically told her she was useless and could never learn, which broke her confidence completely. She explains all of this to the Grand Duke, hoping he won't think she's just being needy or making excuses. And honestly, his response is a total green flag. He doesn't question her for a second. He just promises to handle it personally. But since finding a top-tier tutor on short notice is tough, he decides to step in and teach her himself in the meantime. Cue the classic forced proximity trope, because the moment he leans over her shoulder to guide her reading, the tension skyrockets. Alexa is practically holding her breath with how close he is, trying so hard not to freak out while he gently helps her practice her pronunciation. She's internally screaming, trying to convince herself this is purely business, but when he reaches out and covers her hand with his to steady her, her heart completely betrays her. And just like that, what was supposed to be a simple study session turns into a full-on, heart-fluttering romance moment.